welcome to another exciting show. And tonight we've got a mystery guest. It's all the way from that place. Where is it now? America, California.
Actually, Jefferson State.
Oh, Jefferson.
Have you heard of the New California?
No.
There's something they're calling New California. They want to divide California into, and basically most of the counties are actually trying to leave California because they said it's become tyrannical.
Right.
And so this has been a few years in the making, and so there's most of the that would just be the urban areas that would stay in old California, and they want New California to be like a freer state. So we're trying.
Let's see how that works then.
Anyway,
and
hello.
We got Lady B of Fockham. And and Deb's suggested something like Lord Fockham. It's a bit snobby. Shall I actually? I've got to actually practice talking down to people, haven't I? So, and have you heard of the? I know you mustn't make fun of the Deb, but what was it now? The Prince Philip triple condescension. Have you heard of that? Where you state the obvious. No, how can I remember that? It was ask the question, state the obvious, and answer it all in one sentence. So what you'd say, so your name's Deb, is it? I see.
Yes.
Remember, I used to say this. So,
it's Deb.
Shannon, is it? I see. So he asks the question, answers it. It does the whole lot, all in one sentence. But he can only get away with it. But it's funny, Shannon, have you heard of the 15-minute cities in America? Are they going to try and towns in America where you'll have a zone which is 15 minutes. They're going to start it in Oxford, where you'll only be allowed to drive out of that zone 100 days a year, and then you get fined if you drive out of that zone any other days. And it's basically smart cities is what they're doing, and it's to keep. Yeah,
that's scary. I haven't heard of anything
it really
like
is
that
scary.
here, but
they've done a clean air zone around Bradford, and they're only charging taxis. Apparently, a couple of passenger ordinary cars, what would you call them, civilian cars, have been charged, but they're charging taxis and something else. So, what's the difference between them and normal cars? If they're going to charge people to go into this clean air zone, shouldn't it be everybody?
Yeah.
Just doesn't make sense.
Well, and the whole electric cars thing, of course, is just bogus. Yeah. I mean, because the power has to come from somewhere, the batteries and the materials for the batteries. So in the end, it's much more environmentally devastating than regular petrol, cars. Yeah. And in the end, it's like maybe the air will seem cleaner in places where obviously they're not using gasoline, and there's not that exhaust, but then the air is going to be worse somewhere that's burning. Something's burning somewhere.
Yeah.
For those cars, coal, whether it's coal or trees, what they call biomass now. I mean, that's trees, they're burning forests, they're calling it biomass, and then or burning plastic, whatever you want to burn, oil, you're burning something somewhere. So it's just because we don't see it, doesn't mean it's not burning,
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Stupid.
Well, that's right. Also, you think of the electromagnetic radiation
nightmare.
Electric cars and the lithium.
Make people so sick, and I'm not going to be able to drive those. Yeah, I can't even get in a Prius now. So, so what now? I can't drive at all. I have to drive cars that are like 20 years old.
Yeah.
So I can avoid all the extra crap they're putting in them. There's every new car has I don't know how many different, wireless something or others in it. And, but yeah, the batteries themselves are just like huge EMF, generators. So, but it's a nightmare. I mean, it's just all completely ridiculous. And of course, the real agenda is just to keep us monitored and restricted with travel. So, they use the excuse of the air and the environment for that. But
curb our freedom.
Yeah, I mean,
yes. And also, they overcomplicate cars now because my smart car now with my Toyota, from the accelerator pedal to it hasn't got a carburetor, but the fuel thing, it's a cable. It's really simple. Cable wears out, you replace the cable. Isn't that simple? Oh, no. In a smart car, you've got a sensor that goes onto the blah, 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 this and the other blah, 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 there, and it does this and does that. It costs about 400 quid.
Yeah.
That's about what? About 450 cents. You know, it's absolutely not cents, dollars. I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
And you know, what the hell? It's always overcomplicated. Once upon a time, you just got a lump of cable. It's that easy. But anyway, on with the show, because tonight, what's coming up? If you're on WhatsApp, I've got something to tell you, which is very interesting, a bit worrying as well.
Yes.
And of course, WhatsApp is owned by FB.
Mm-hmm.
Asked about Facebook, and it comes under, I think it's Better. I might as well mention it now, actually, get it over with. Because what happened the other week, where I thought I was being trolled or whatever, and I wasn't. And you know, I don't know whether you heard it, Deb. When you're on Facebook, I didn't realise someone could make a comment, say 2 or 3 months back, and it goes around. A whiz kid explained it to me, but I didn't quite get it. And then I explained it to him again. I still didn't quite get it. But the way I interpreted it is it's incredibly dangerous. So you could have said, I don't know, I don't like electric cars 3 months ago. And then suddenly that comment will appear as its ugly head and go around the circuit. It's probably been to Australia and out of Mongolia and back again. Well, apparently what's happened is with WhatsApp, there's governments have produced a software called, and I made a note of it, Pegasus spy software. And you can look this up. It's all you know. And the way it was explained to me is it's I think it's the American government, along with a country that we're not allowed to criticise, has their security services have been making this. It's not something you could buy as an app. Let's put it this way. How you buy it, I do not know. I think you'd have to be some bigwig in a country, and it can actually spy if you're on WhatsApp. It can actually go back and see exactly what you're doing, what you're saying, everything. You just go straight into it. And
well, I always thought when I heard about that app, I just knew right away. It just seemed like a really public kind of, you know, just something like a Facebook thing. Didn't seem like a good idea to get on. Not that I have a phone that I would get on with anyway, but you know, but I just never used it.
Well, that's right. I blew my top when I thought I was being trolled, but I wasn't, because there was a comment made back in November.
Wow.
And it was about 2 weeks ago now. No, less than that. Where it looked as if I'd being trolled, but I wasn't. But when you looked at the evidence, it looked as if I was. But it's because these bloody cops did the circuit, and that's it. So this is why I'm backing off a bit from Facebook. I'm still using it. I'm still putting innocent stuff down, and I'm advertising the show on there. But I'm moving over to Telegram, which I was told that the CEO was seen in not very nice circles, and Gab. Gab is more American leaning than it is UK, but I do like Gab because it's independent and it's a bit like Facebook, but its comments apparently, so I've been told, again, I could be wrong, it doesn't do the circuit like it does on Facebook. So I've been told. I don't know, could be wrong. Anyway, on with the show. And tonight's show is, well, whether you like it or not, you're ruled by numbers. And we're all ruled by numbers. And it's to do with numerology. Now, there's a famous scientist, well, I don't know if he's a scientist, an engineer, called Barnes Wallis. And here he is. There's Barnes Wallis. And he was the inventor of the bouncing bomb. And I think he's using a drafting machine there, which I absolutely hated because I'm left-handed. I prefer the old parallel motions, but anyway, that's another a sort of a drawing board thing. But Barnes Wallis, as I say, he where are we? Let's get all this, get myself all sorted out. Here we are. He devised the bouncing bomb during World War II, and I've actually been to Reculver where they tested it out, and it's very atmospheric there when I went there, and you can just imagine the bomber coming along and testing it out. I think they've got a little plaque there, you know, sort of, and he had this idea that we could actually transport goods via submarine, nuclear powered submarines. so that it was cheaper, but they didn't take it up. Anyway, this was after the war. But the point I'm getting at is he was heavily into numerology in a big way, and he was a very bright person. So that's with numerology. And as you know, Shannon, from the book, my dad was very much into it,
Yes.
and worked out why D-Day. Oh, blooming hell! I've got other friend requests from Facebook again. I'm getting about 20 a day. And no, he could never work out why it was a 1944, which adds up to an 8. Why it wasn't a 369. He went to his grave, absolutely puzzled why. He tried to find out why everything else added up.
Oh, because the 369 thing, right? So which one added up to 8?
Well, what it was, you see, it was D-Day, which was the June 1944, which adds up to 8.
I could guess. I know why it would be different. Why it would be 8. Because 8 represents. I think it's like a completion thing, you know. So the infinity symbol, right? I think I've heard it meaning completion, but also sort of infinity. So maybe that had something to do with why, you know, at the end, like it's sort of an ending. Although, well, it wasn't the ending, but I don't know. I can see why he'd be puzzled. But yeah, your dad really had an interesting approach that I'm less familiar with. You know, he did some things a little differently with it than I know. So. Like, anyway, we can get into that, but sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What you were going to say something else about that?
What I'm going to say is I don't want to, because I know you John Hamer, we made a breakthrough. We can actually get John Hamer on now using his phone.
Yes.
Now,
finally.
I don't want that out, because I would have thought computer more powerful than phone. The computer works, the phone doesn't. Wrong. Yeah. The phone works, but the computer doesn't. It's the same with miles.
Yeah.
Phone works, but the computer doesn't.
Well, the phone is a computer. I mean, these days, so
a mini one.
It's a miniaturized supercomputer.
I was going to quickly show you this, which I had on last week, and this is the weird one. It adds up to 68, but if you now. The way my dad did it, you didn't put the 19. You didn't put the
That's what he did differently, right?
All right, yeah.
That's what he did. But if you take 300 years off of this, it works out to 65. Because it would be, you know that I strongly believe it, that this is not 2023. We're in 1723, because there was an era when the computer calendar was over in, I think, the 6th century. So World War I was actually then in 1614, not 1914.
Right.
That adds up to 65, and again 65. So when you go down to the single number, so 65 is 11. Then again it's 2, and again 9/11 2. It's just magic 2.
Yeah. Well, they see but they have the exception for 11 and like 22. You know, those are considered master numbers, which don't reduce to one digit. You know, so you wouldn't, if it adds to 11, it's 11. You know, because that's the master number. 22 would be considered the master builder number. So they have these exceptions. Although, yeah, you could still reduce them and see relationships with the reduced form, like because 22 makes 4, and 4 is a foundational number. You know, we're seeing 44 a lot in the last couple of years. That's coming up. I see 44 everywhere in the news, statistics and everything. You know, it's a big one, and that is I think, you know, it's, again, the foundational number 4, and you add 2 of them together, that makes 8, and that's the infinity, you know, symbol again. So the point is that they, you know, people who are into this, the elite, whatever, are, you know, controllers, they see all these different numbers as having certain significance, and there's different ciphers. You know, there's the basic numerology, and then there's the different, once you get past basic numerology, then we're talking gematria or gematria, depending how you want to say it, you know, GEMATRIA, and that is basically the coding of language with numbers. and that is like there's several ciphers for that, so there's not just one code. So then it's like I'm not to that advanced level. That's, you can look up Zachary Hubbard. He's a good one. He's really into this. He's written a few books about it, and his book's really excellent. I'd recommend Numbers Games, really interesting. So I got a lot of my learning and information from him, but I tend to just in a regular daily basis, like because the numerology is really accessible, it's a really easy one to figure out on your own. And I start doing it in my head it's like instead of counting sheep, I'll like figure out people's names, celebrities, and they like kind of finally drift off. But that's more accessible. So like in my daily life, the thing about this is, and I don't know, Chris, did you want to say more before? I was just going to kind of introduce what this is all about if you want. But,
what I think is that if we could introduce people to numerology, where they can work out a little bit to themselves, because
that's what I want to do.
My fault, I actually jumped ahead of things, which I always do. Risks. I didn't lead you in, so I do apologise for that.
Okay.
So, because I was also keen, numerology, So.
Yeah, I mean, we just started talking about it without really explaining it.
Yeah,
not everybody who's listening is going to know anything about this. Right?
People are there with their pencils and paper ready. Do you want to go into chat first, and then we shall we do that, Deb?
Yes, we can.
Shannon, is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah, and we've highlighted some here. Well, we say hello to Michelle first.
We need to send some healing vibes out to Paul Green as well. Because he's going to catch it later because he's going to go to bed, and he's had
all right. We need
the first time in 20 years. So
right, here we go then. So healing vibes, here it comes.
Take sulfur.
Silence. Is it going? Oh, it is. And it gets well soon, Deb, as well, because you've got a nice.
Mine's nearly gone now. Mine's nearly gone now, but a little bit of tinkly music always helps.
It does, doesn't it? Yes. So
I've starred a few things. Dark Angel says, I thought there was more chance of seeing a Bigfoot than seeing Shannon.
If you could see my bottom half of my legs, it looks a little bit Bigfoot like. I'm wearing this wool. I'm wearing this like wool, fuzzy wool.
Nice.
And when I wear like if I wasn't, I'm almost a Bigfoot. I'm turning into one.
It's because you're living in the wilds. That's what it is.
It happens. Those are just wild. Yeah, it was just wild people. It's not any mystery to it. It's just you live out here long enough.
Going back to cars and pollution, Louise is saying they shouldn't be charging anyone. Every man has a right to free, unhindered travel. It's nothing to do with cleaner air. If it was, then politicians wouldn't be allowed to talk their BS. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And then Ruby said when you were on about cars, Chris, they're complicated, so you cannot fix anything, yet they will not win. For many find a way, and they do. There's always some way of getting around something.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've got a message for Shannon from Exploration.
Exploration.
And it says, hello, Shannon. I want to know the truth about this masquerade as well. I would like to message you directly. I have a lot of things to share about this masquerade. It's been one hell of a ride.
Well, if anybody wants to contact me, you can go to my website, and there's a contact form, and I'll get the email there. So that's kind of the simplest thing, and that's wifirefugee.com, but wifi-refugee.com.
I think I've got that somewhere.
So feel free to reach out. I'm not like, I don't have internet at my house. I don't use smartphones. I schedule my internet time. So I'm not super quick to respond to emails, but I'll get there eventually. So
jolly good.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find it. Where is it?
I am as well.
It wasn't.
I can't see it.
It's here somewhere. I've got John's one. Now, where is it? It should. It was here. I saw it the other day.
I know.
Well, you can write it in the chat, maybe just type it out in there.
Right. Wait a minute.
Where the heck has it gone?
I have no idea.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I think you had it before.
Happy health foods, yes. Falsification, crystal.
I don't even know how it goes now. Right, just leave it with me a minute. I need a cough anyway. So.
Hang on, I got it. That's the
you
one.
got it. Okay, there you go. Yes. So yeah, just go to the contact me, the contact or whatever at the top of the page, and you can just easy fill out a form, and I'll get that email. So.
Super.
That's brilliant. It's okay. We'll leave it up there for a little while so people can get notepads and pencils and that. And of course, you've got a brilliant book as well.
The co-authors one with John, and then my book, and I'm actually have another book I'm hoping to finish in the next couple months, which is all about the in depth. Yeah.
Yes.
Right, we've
William's
got
toxic rule.
Yeah.
Right.
Dark Angel says 666 has a lot of strange connotations around it.
Yeah, that comes up a lot, and I mean, that's biblical, obviously, and people know that one because it's supposed to be. The interesting thing about the biblical reference is it says it's the number of the beast, but also the number of man.
Yeah.
But I think that means like fallen man, because then it also says that 7 is the complete man or something, like the ascended, complete man. So 666 is like our bestial form, like our, like our fallen nature or something, I think. Some of the first 36 natural numbers, huh?
Because sometimes it's at 662. I think it was someone was saying that, but it was on the BBC. I saw on YouTube because I don't have a telly. But as it was on the BBC, it's so you can flush that down the toilet. Leave anything that's on there. So I think it was Stephen Fry saying it. That's
Love it.
Can't stand him. Yeah.
But you see the 666 on all these patents to do with the things happening in the last couple of years, like, and even the first IBM computer was priced at $666, just happens to be I mean, why would you price a computer at that? I mean, unless you had some intention there, this one by exploration is 74 is another one that's cropped up a lot in the last couple of years, and for the mirror of that 47, and of course those numbers when you add them up equal 11. So it's another anything that equals 11 is also really significant to them. 56, 65, those are other numbers that keep coming up. So anyway, but if you want to read some more, I'll get back into explaining like a little bit more about that.
Armistice of World War I, the 11th or the 11th hour. The war in World War II was if Germany doesn't not come back by 11 o'clock. Why not 12 o'clock? Why 11 o'clock?
Oh yeah.
And how many times you looked at your clock and you've seen 11:11 on it?
I'm doing that.
I've started to see 11:33. That's been my one. It's weird. That's what or 11:22.
Mine has been lately. Mine's been 11:11 or 13:13, which obviously adds up to 8.
Yeah, right.
My lucky number.
Really?
I like 8.
Yeah,
it's a nice, sexy number.
I like it.
I always hated maths too. Algebra equations, never used any of them in real life.
No.
Yeah,
I do not understand algebra at all. But anyway,
well, basic maths.
And during the log tables,
the what?
And I won't tell the story again about the log tables because I think people are tired of hearing it. But the laboratory paper. You have to go back over a few editions of that. I've mentioned it several times. I don't want to bore. But
right.
No, that's fascinating. So people there they're all here with their pencils and papers. So let's start. Suppose I'm a man off the street.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, what is numerology?
Okay, so basic numerology would be it's matching letters with numbers, so it's the coding of language, and this explains why there's this basic universal spelling, and even just saying spelling is interesting because spelling, spell casting, writing, write in terms of spells. So you already have it, like kind of the fact that they call it spelling. But but at some point, obviously, with our language, we didn't have universal spelling, and it's changed over the years. So I think there's been this official version now, which is on purpose because it's to make sure that like it adds the numbers add up, to something specific for each word. Because once those words have certain numbers attached to them, then supposedly, anyway, they have a certain kind of power. So basic numerology is that you add. So you take our alphabet and you start with A, and that would mean 1. A is 1. So you have a number that goes with each letter. So A1, B2, and you stop at 9. So what happens is it cuts off at I is the first 9. So you have A is 1, B2. I meant to write this out so I could put it on the screen, but C is 3, D4, E5, F6, G7, H8, and I is 9. And then you stop and start again. After I, you've got J, and that's the next one. So you've got start again. So you've got J is 1, K is 2. J, K, 2, L is 3, M is 4, N is 5, O is 6, P is 7, Q is 8, R is 9. So so I is the first 9, R is the second 9, and then you have one more group, which actually Z ends up being 8. Z is not 9. So so you've got last group starts with S, and so it's an S is 1, T is 2, U is 3, V is 4, W is 5, X is 6, and Y is 7, and Z is 9. And the interesting thing about X is that it being 6 is XXX, triple X movies, 666.
Yes.
Right? So watch out for stuff like that. And so somebody decided, or a group of people decided, like how many letters would be in the English alphabet. Every alphabet, obviously for different languages, is a different amount of numbers, but there's been this push to have sort of English the universal language. I mean, it's definitely the universal like business language. So it's really key that certain amount of numbers certain amount of letters, certain numbers attached to them, and then you have your correct base standardized spelling. So that means that then let's take an example of a word that's easy. I don't know. What's an easy word? Cat, right? So cat let's do numerology for cat. CAT. You've got cat. C is 3, A is 1, and T is 2. So 3, 1, 2, right? So is 4, 5, 6. So cat is 6. That's how you do it. So that's how you come up with like the reduced number, from a word to make that's the basic numerology. But what we said the exceptions were if you come out to 11, then that's considered. You can also use 2 with that, but that has a special meaning, and they think that's again the master number. And a lot of this is like Freemason stuff. So 33 is an important Freemason number, right? So if it comes to 33, that may have significance as well, and same with like the 22. So first you can reduce it to the double digits just to see like, well, what significance that might have, like like we've been talking about the 47, 74, 44, 56, that kind of thing. And then what do they add up to in the, after that? But people like to do their names, your given name. People change their names or change their name spelling, assuming that may have some impact on their outcome of their lives. A lot of people like to match up their name numerology with their birth date, because then if you take all the digits from your birth year, birth month, and then add that up, that's supposed to be your sort of life path number. So mine goes, is 9, but my name doesn't add up to 9. Interestingly, my full given name adds up to 11. So I have 9 and 11. Yeah. And right. And John and I we thought that was interesting because John Hamer, I can't remember, it's probably his full name that I did this with, but I think it was just John Hamer, but it came to 11-9. So like, and you guys obviously do that like opposite of us, like, we do 9-11, you do 11-9. So what the point of that is that we both got really interested in like the truth, finding out the truth and doing our detective work after 9/11. Like that had a big impact on both of us. So my friend who actually died in the World Trade Centers, his full name is 9/11, right? So like his first two names together make 9, like, and then his last name is 11. And I was like, that kind of blew me away when I realized that, but I've started to pay attention because, so what I've noticed is that there's the kind of orchestrated numerology stuff where they're, and of course it's orchestrated just by the fact that they have taken over our language and the spelling of it and the standardization of it. And so of course with the intention, I think that adds up to certain numbers, because what the point is, there's a natural matrix is what it seems, right? There's a natural order, you can call it, like, and that order can be understood in numbers, is what the idea is. So that what they think, at least, I'm saying this as like, I'm not sure, I'm not really sure like how much impact you can have with this, but so I'm saying the belief is, people who use this and believe in it, is that there's a kind of code to reality, to like a kind of like a computer code. There's this code underlying everything in nature and our reality, our experience. And if you can manipulate the code, then you can manipulate reality itself. And that's sort of the point of it. So people obviously who are in positions of power, who have the ability to manipulate statistics and report them, can use the numbers and also just organize events on certain dates, they think, to have more, to create a certain outcome, or more power behind what, the spell casting, basically. But what's interesting to note is in our own personal lives that you can notice like numbers that affect your own life, like your address, your license plate, things that seem a bit outside of your own control, or even outside of like the control system control, right? So if you notice, for example, like the friends you tend to, your best friends, and you do the numerology for their names, and you start to see, almost like with astrology, that like you gravitate towards certain people with certain numbers, or you see the same number kind of cropping up over and over again in your life, and you think, there's no way that like a certain group of people could be controlling all of this, so you do start to see like maybe there is something to this like natural matrix. I mean, I've noticed, for example, that I've moved a lot, and my addresses from the last sort of decade, and several addresses have all added up to 4. My first name adds up to 4, and it's just been some weird, like my first name is 31 and then it's 4. And for example, like I bought this jungle lot in Costa Rica, which is now worthless, and that's a long story, but anyway, I believed in the dream at the time, and it was over a decade ago, and I picked lot 31 way before I knew anything about numerology. That was the one I picked, so I've seen my number 31 come up over and over again as well. So it's so like there's definitely something going on. And it does kind of end up being along the lines of like astrology. You see a lot of, relationship with that, because you can also look into this online and see that if you look up numerology and names, you'll see a lot of kind of similar stuff you might find when you're looking up astrology. Like if you say, okay, I'm a Leo and I want to see, what does it say about Leos, or like whatever. So if I'm an 11 or I'm a 9 or I'm an 8 or I'm a 5 or 6 or whatever, there's this whole kind of thing online that you can find where people say, oh yes, like 5s are like this kind of people, and 4s are this kind of people. So there's this whole, I don't know how much stock to put in that. Just like with astrology, there's a lot of bogus astrology, and then there's a lot of really good, genuine astrology. So you kind of have the same situation with numerology. But like if you want to go beyond basic numerology, there's this, like I said, there's this whole gematria thing where it's like there's different kinds of code, different kinds of ciphers for different kinds of codes, which is more complex. But if you want to look into it at all, a good place to start, there's 2 websites I'd recommend, and one is there's a Gematrinator, it's called gematrinator.com, It's like, so Gematria, if you just look up Gematrinator, you'll find it. If you just do a search, Gematrinator calculator, if you look that up. And so you'll have there's an online calculator that's free to access. You can put any names in there you want, and it'll come up with like, it'll actually show you the first one. It will show you basic numerology in terms of, it'll say the reduced number, is what they call it, like reduction or something. Let me look, I have it open, I think here. I get that page open. So you can type in a name or whatever. So it'll say, it says reduction. And then you have these other ones, reverse ordinal, reverse reduction. And then there's some other ones, and there's some settings in here where you can look up, there's Greek calculator, Hebrew, there's a Hebrew, gematria. And so you can check out those different ones. But I started noticing, just from doing like basic numerology, I started to wonder about, so people's names, famous politicians, movie stars, Hollywood stars. So in Hollywood, there's a lot of, so Hollywood's interesting because a lot of the actors' names are not their original names.
Yeah.
Right? They changed them. Most of them, successful ones, have changed their names. And they happen to change them to, usually it's 3 and 11. So like the first name 3, last name 11 is really common in Hollywood. There's a lot of 11s. Not all of them are that, but a lot, so, and then, so that adds to 8, 311. So I'm sorry, what am I saying? 5. It adds to 5, which 5 is supposed to be related to Satanism. That's like Satan's number or something, I think. And and 25 and 52, those numbers are something to do with that, I think. And but there's a lot of those those numbers in the names, and the politicians. So I was just doing, before we got on, I think Bill Gates is 33, so that's interesting, and then I think Anthony Fauci was 56. Like, so you've got, and the whole pandemic was like, just the coronavirus is 56. Right, like that is, and so is toilet paper, and so is mind control. Mind control is 56, and again, that adds up to 11. So like, it becomes too coincidental. It's like, there's no way that like all these words, like for example, that have the same kind of meanings, like kill, and like police and murder, and these are all like 44 numbers. Those are all 44. So you'll find like a theme. Certain words that all tend to have the same numbers, right? So it's like, what's going on here? Something's going on. But then we add, and there's like the 201. There's ever like a 0, it doesn't count. So 201, event 201, and everything, that just is 21, right? So that has so you always drop that, and then you'll start noticing, once you do that, you'll start noticing, 21 is 201, 21, right? They're doing that. I don't know why. But here's a good one I just learned recently. So back to the 311. So all these movie stars with 311. So the World Health Organization announced the pandemic on 311, right? At least from the American perspective, right? So March 11th. Yeah. And then the Queen died 311 days after that.
Yeah.
311 days from March 11th, the Queen died.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know.
Officially.
Yeah.
I think that's
so much easier to plan it if it's just an official, right? But right. And then it was I mean, there's just and then the coronation of your king was what was also, wasn't that 9/11? It happened on 9/11. Yeah. Right. So anyway, they have their own meaning. An interesting thing about 9/11 is that 9, if you reduce 11 to 2 and then add 9 with 2, you get 11 again. So you just keep getting 11. Yeah. Like, it's just 11. And nine's such an interesting number to me, because when you're doing this, you start to realize anything you add to 9 is just going to turn back into itself.
Yeah.
Okay. What I mean, like, if you add 9 and 1, you get 10. That's 1. You add 9 and 2, you get 11, that's 2.
That's
You get
2.
9 and 3, you get 12, that's 3. 9 and 4, you get 13, that's 4. So in a way, you can almost ignore it unless you want to know what that the double digit number is first before you reduce it. But if you're just reducing to a single digit, then you don't even need to count anything with 9 because it's just going to negate itself. It just negates itself. It's really interesting. So if you add like 3 9s together, you just keep getting 9. You can add all the 9s you want together forever, and it makes 9. You know,
9 fascinates me because it's like,
yeah,
9 9s are 81, 8 and 1 is 9.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. Yeah. So when you're doing this, it's kind of it's an interesting thing. That's why I like to use it for like instead of counting sheep at night. It's like this kind of does this thing with your mind. You're like, whoa, a little bit of a puzzle, you know. But it's a kind of fun one.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I had a bit of a obsession at one point of I couldn't go to sleep until all the numbers I could get all the numbers on my clock to get back to 8. So if it was like 1:35 in the morning, it'd be like 3 and 5 is 8 times 1 is 8. I can go to sleep now.
Whoa!
I used to, but some of the combinations that I came up with to actually get it back to 8 were quite interesting. Thankfully, I got out of that phase because it was becoming a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, Shannon, if you could give that website again, all I got was Gematria, and I didn't quite get
Gematrinator. Yeah, it's okay. Let me spell it out. GEMATRINATOR.com.
.com. Okay, yeah. So that's Gematrinator.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if I got time, I'll pop it down in the comments section.
Yeah, do
and
that.
then it also says on what I have open /calculator. So I mean, but you can easily get it from the homepage. I mean, I think the homepage I thought is the calculator, but I'm not sure.
Well, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll put that on tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a handy tool. You know, Gematria. I think it's Gematria Effect News. The Gematria Effect is Zach Hubbert's like Gematria News website, which is super interesting because he's always just searching the headlines and seeing the connections. I mean, he gets so into it, like, you know, so you have weird things like there was something with Kobe Bryant's death with the helicopter in terms of like his numbers and his name and when he died and where it was. And, you know, it's like this old, just the saying your number is up. Your number is up when you die. It's like, that says it all, right? Your number's up. What is that? Why do we say that?
That's right.
Yeah, your number's up.
Makes you wonder.
That's it. And you
if your name's on the bullet, did you actually get what was that now about the First World War? Atkinson, where they went over the top, and it was a comedy about the trenches.
Blackadder.
Did you get that?
Oh yeah, I saw that series. Yeah.
That was actually very cleverly done. Or even though I can't stand the script writer, it was Bennell. He did do it very well because it was comedy but serious at the same time. Very, very, very clever. And when you put his name on the bullet, because they said if your name's on the bullet, you said put my name on this bullet. So now I've got it. You know, but
that's the later Blackadder, right? I'm thinking that's right. They did the like World War I or something later one. I was thinking first the medieval Blackadder.
Beginning one.
That's the one I know more.
The very last one was the World War II one, and the last.
It went to World War II.
The last episode was the one where they came out of the trench to go fight.
World War I.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, World War I.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
Yeah.
But the way they froze it, that was perfect. They just froze it, so you just
You know, but
I'll tell you,
came down.
That's right. I found it quite moving, but
it was moving.
Sherry, the strange thing is, you know that Sherry Booth, who's married to Tony Blair, well, her great, I don't know how many grandfathers, John Wilkes Booth, shot Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
Nice family. And, you know, the story, according to the late, great Dave Starbuck, John Wilkes Booth was allowed to escape because apparently they surrounded a barn quite like to it. They found dental records and records that he was still alive in 1910 in
Right. They buried some other person or something. Right. They
something
killed somebody else. Yeah.
Boo works out to 6. Comes down to 6. And
Yeah.
Sherry comes out to 12. Now the strange one though is that COV 9.
Right.
That comes down to 9. That comes down to 9, which is a bit weird.
Well, yeah. There was something else with
3,
that.
6, and 9. And also Tony. Okay, I've done Tony, which is 20, which is 2 rather. And Tony is a shortened brief version of Anthony, which is her old man's name. And that comes to 34.
Right.
Which comes down to 6.
Yeah.
Which is a bit weird. So sorry, I'll do that earlier. So it all seems to be 3, 6, and 9. It's the sort of, was it the war numbers, 3, 6, 9? Because World War II was all 3, 6, 9s.
3, 6, 9, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the magic number that Tesla.
Yes.
Spoke about.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Tesla did say that the secret of the universe or something was 3, 6, and 9. So yeah, I'm just looking. I'm looking at the so the Welcome to the Masquerade. You know, I did the chapter on the part of the chapter on gematria, and I'm just kind of refreshing my memory about the kind of connections I put in here. Yeah, there's things like, well, I mentioned Event 201, but there's like, the Pope was like, first Pope was living in Suite 201 at the Vatican at the time, and with a name, his full name that equals 201, and the word and the name in Catholic Pope equals 201, and it's just like Order of Illuminati equals 201. So there's this, you see, it's like once you kind of see the relationships between certain groups and their names, they obviously think it means something, and this is on purpose. So it's like, it's definitely, there's intention when you see it like repeat it that much, and that, so I'm curious, it's like, well, so what can we do with this information? I mean, it does at least just show us that, oh, here we go to the other part about there's 2001 A Space Odyssey also comes down to, you forget the zeros. So you got the 21 again. And and it's like, there's Agenda 21.
Yeah.
And, there's QAnon equals 201. And let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of relationship with Jesuits with that one. So that's like, seems like a number for them, because I think that was the number of like the Jesuits supposedly got, escaped or something, was 201. And let's see what else about this. We were talking about 666, and that's I found some of those. There's the Trace Act was, the bill number was HR 6666, 4 6s, and then there's like, actually the Microsoft company Microsoft filed a patent on March 26, 2020 for biologically based cryptocurrency, which is, it says 2020 and then 060606. So, and that seems like something like that, anything to do with tracing us, it seems like. In chips, there are these 666s, which seems to be to do with like branding us with the beast, kind of number and that mark. Yeah.
When we are, shall we invent a name?
Yeah.
Let's say, I don't know, Fred Blogs, all right?
Yeah.
Suppose there's Fred Blogs listening in tonight, or Sharon Blogs, or whatever. They add up using this code that you said at the beginning of the show, and then they reduce it down, and that will be the numbers that will probably occur throughout their lives. Would it be?
Yeah, it would. I would look at like your name and things like your addresses and your phone numbers, and like things that you, especially with addresses, like you feel like, well, I chose to live here. It wasn't like assigned to you. I mean, when you have the government assigning you numbers, you could get into conspiracies about that, right? Well, they know, they have your birth certificate. They know what your full name is. They know what it equates to. They can, your social security number, whatever, could relate to that somehow, or whatever tax ID numbers, whatever numbers they give you. So you might see a relationship between those as well. But when you get other things happening that match up with your name that seem like they're not assigned, it's not assigned to you, you know, is interesting. Like even just choosing your mate or something. Like for example, my grandmother, her maiden name was like, we actually had the same numbers as it, you know, ours comes to 11, but she remarried, and she still got the last name with the same 33. Like, and you know, and I think was her first name was anyway, I forgot what they are all, but like she didn't change her name when she changed her name in terms of the numbers. Yeah, you know, it's like when women marry and they change their name, sometimes they're not really changing their name, right? In terms of their destiny, in terms of like who they are, in terms as far as numbers go. So people, if you look at the world this way, then the names are only important in terms of what the numbers are, you know, as their base, the code.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, maybe challenge. I mean, yeah, I think it's funny the different name spellings and things when people do that, but at the same time, you can kind of understand that you might want to, maybe you want to try to change your destiny or luck, and you know, I don't know, put a Y instead of a. I mean, Shannon could be spelled, you know, with an E-N, and I think Shannon Doherty spells it E-N, like, which is something she just made up, you know. And so I wonder why. Like, she's an actress in Hollywood, so it must be to do with the numbers. I haven't actually worked hers out, but
well,
yeah.
Look at these names that the people had when they were very successful. I mean, for example, Richard, his real name is Harry Webb, and when so I heard when he was thought of this stage name, he was going to have it Cliff Richards, and his manager said, no, make it Cliff Richard, because people always say it's Richards, and you'll have to correct them, and you'll get your name on the media mentioned twice. Pretty clever.
Oh,
but when you think about
maybe it's something else. Maybe he said that, but it's really.
What do you think about it's cunning, isn't it? But so you don't have. I mean, my dad did it with 3 groups of numbers, so it's 2, 4, 8, 3, 6, 9, and
that's right.
1, 4, 7. Is that the similar sort of thing? Because he was a 3, 6, 9. I mean, I noticed 3, 6, 9 seem to be occurring a lot in my life. 3, 6, 9s, and I mean, my house number adds up to 9, believe it or not. So there's a lot of things like that, magic numbers, that you see occurring all the time. But it was interesting what you were saying about these so-called famous people, and their names seem to go around 3, 6, 9. What I've just calculated at the moment, you know, I did Tony Blair. That seemed to be around 3, 6, 9. So I'm not related to him. I don't want anything to do with that.
Well, yeah, and like Bill
whilst
Gates
we're talking about Tony Blair,
and right.
Do you want to? Shall we see the rice experiment? Shall we go on to that?
The what?
You're okay? We have a little break now.
Sure.
So,
yes.
Michelle said, "Don't put lids on these jars." But I'm afraid, I'm sorry, Michelle, I've had to. It's so bloody whiffy. I think I'd have been sitting. I'd have been by now. So first of all, let's look at the hate jar, okay? So ready, all boo.
Wait, explain again. You might need to explain this to people, because when you started saying it before we got on, I didn't know what you were talking about. So Chris has these jars of rice and water, and he's given, like, one of them he gave his hate to, and it has certain pictures on it. Which show, wait, turn it around again.
Of people.
And so like there's that certain person. Ooh.
Anal Schwab. Sorry, Anal Schwab. Anal Schwab. And of course you've got this specimen here. And I've had no problems in hating this. But I've had to put the lid on because unfortunately I couldn't sit in this office tonight. The stench is absolutely. Now, I'll just quickly open it. Bloody hell. And that has actually gone. I don't know if you can see that in the light. Hang on, I'll just turn that round. It looks white, but that has actually gone brown. Can you see that brown? But there's no actual bloody hell, just sort of whiff.
That'll make you sleep.
Bloody hell. And that is actually, there's no real fungus or moss on there, but it's just gone really a brown colour. I don't know if you can see that under the light there, that brown colour. Okay. Now that is the hate one, bastard. Here it goes. Right, here we go. So I really, how do you hate a jar? It's very difficult to actually, I just look at the pictures, it makes it easier. Now this one I just ignored. And that has got green. It's still white, but look, see what the green fungus on?
Little bits, yeah.
Little bits of green. And the one that I love, I mean, if anybody saw me, I think he's going bleeding mad loving a jar. This is another one, which I like.
Ladies on.
I like the pretty lady with the bicycle. Here she is. She's Australian with a bicycle there, you see. I like ladies and bicycles. And there's a pretty lady there. And this is still white. Has a sort of an alcoholic smell to it. It's not.
So I said fermented.
Yes, it's not unpleasant. I mean, it's not as unpleasant as this. Hang on.
No.
That. It's not as unpleasant as that. And this, if you can see, just got one little tiny pinprick of green mold. That's just it. You can just about see it. If I'd have to look for it. Oh, there it is. Just one little bit, and I can smell over there. It still smells of rice in front of it. But look, you can see that it's not bad, is it? Still white, and it hasn't really gone mouldy. So, Yes, they're nice, isn't it? So
I think you can. Can't you just also say to the water? You know, you can say to water. You can say, "I hate you." Like you don't even have to. You know what I mean? Even if you don't feel it, like no, not that one. But like I think even just your words, right, can do it without necessarily having the feeling behind it.
I'll probably have blokes knocking at the door tomorrow with a straitjacket saying, "This man loves a glass, a jam jar, rice and water." Yes, he's certainly gone now. Yes. Perhaps I also play that record. Was it "They're Coming to Take Me Away"? Ha ha.
Ha 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 ha.
Now, should we go into a top tip?
Top tip. Oh, top tip. I like a top tip.
Top tip. Right. Now, there's a lot of talk on the Finternet or internet about not throwing the tops of your vegetables away, you see.
Yeah.
So celery. Now I did this a week ago, and you know the root, the bottom bit, you cut all the celery stalks off and you leave the bottom bit.
The chunky
That's
bit.
what I did. Chunky bit at the bottom. And look, it's starting to, hang on, let's get that thrown the right way around. Can you see it? I'll leave that in the sun. Hang on.
That's
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Can you see it? It's starting to sprout. It's about good half inch there of growth.
Yeah.
And I think you've done this, Deb, haven't you? Did you shove it in the ground?
Yeah, I put it in a pot.
I'm going to put it in a pot in the greenhouse because it's a bit too early.
Outside. I also did it with spring onions, and they were absolutely massive because obviously you chop the end off with the root, so you just put the root straight into the soil.
Now that is
spring onions.
Really well. I'm going to keep it actually in the greenhouse because we're still getting frost, and I think it might kill it this time of year. So that will go out in about a week or two's time. This is a cabbage which I only did today, so nothing bugger all's happened to that already, you know. Yeah. But there is a bit of a myth. People say, "Oh, you're going to get." I think you can get onions, spring onions. You can keep putting them in. Onions are easy.
Yeah.
But carrots, you do. I don't think you can grow another carrot. I think you just get the leaves at the top.
Yeah.
And I've got beetroot, which I've left downstairs because what trouble with beetroot, you get red everywhere. And I thought if I start to spill it, I get red everywhere. But that apparently you can cut the leaves off and you can have it in like a salad.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you can eat the leaves of carrots, but I don't find them particularly tasty. Do you?
No, they're all right for rabbits. They like them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. So that's the top tip. And do you reckon I'm going to advertise something now? Do you reckon I'll advertise? We've got to do a little bit of advertising.
Go on then.
Yeah, because this is being sponsored, you know, by now this is. I'd definitely go to this if I was.
Norfolk Village idiots have begun arriving for their annual convention in Downham Market. Attendees will be expected to discuss important issues of the day, including the county's best walls to sit on and new, exciting ways to suck on a piece of straw. The conference doesn't start until Saturday, but already 14 village idiots from across Norfolk have arrived. Organizers insist they are not early but have simply turned up late for last year's event. Norfolk's chief village idiot, Bubba Spuckler, said, "Most idiots get hopelessly lost trying to find the venue, and some have taken a year to get here. If you know someone who should attend this convention, you may tag them to this post so they won't miss the next convention."
Yes, and remember, it's on the 30th of February. So make a note in your diary, 30th of February, Village Idiots Convention in Norfolk.
Superb.
Yes. And it's actually a hall called Enchants.
Right.
It says Norfolk Enchants. It's a village called Enchants. Yes, you did get it, idiot. Anyway, back to numerology.
No fucking chance.
Very good.
I'm gonna hire a bus and bring a load of people that I know. I'll drop them off and come home.
I don't want to be rude to Norfolk people. There's some very nice Norfolk people that are very intellectual, but there are quite a few village idiots around here. And do you know the reason why it was noted for village idiots? Seriously, it was, well, apparently, obviously it was close relatives marrying and things like that. But it happened even more during World War II because all the men were away fighting.
Sorry.
And so there's a lot of illegitimate children there from the American Air Force bases as well. Shannon, when the Americans, yes, because they had American underwear during World War II, yanking her down, and but the thing is, no, apparently when they left, they left loads of children. So there's a lot of children that grew up that were born during World War II that didn't know who their fathers were.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, there's a hell of a that's a lot, you know.
Yeah.
But, no, it's I suppose it's like in Vietnam, isn't there? There's a lot of half Vietnamese, half Americans over there.
Yeah. I've just spotted a question for Shannon.
Yeah.
I'll lose it. Exploration. Shannon, just wanted to ask you that in your book you say the Black Plague really happened. What if it is not the true story and was just
yeah. I mean, it could have been easily. I mean, I think a lot of people may have died for the same reasons they're dying now, which is not what the official story is telling us. Maybe there was disease, but didn't happen the way for the reasons, you know, because I mean, there's a lot of ways people can get sick and be poisoned and, you know, and die, and without it necessarily being like a germ or a, you know, a plague outbreak. So I don't know if we'll ever know. It's like, you know, it's just like lost to us, but I would not trust the official line on that at all, for sure. You know, I mean, like, it was ridiculous. How many times has it changed, like what they think caused it? You know, first they're sure it was like this bacteria, then I don't know, maybe now they're saying it's a virus, or changed from one to the other. And, you know, they found some frozen medieval guy's body and found out they were, you know, in a bog man or something, and said, I mean, you know, ridiculous stories like this that now we know what caused it, which is, and then you have those accounts, and I don't know if I believe these either, but, well, I think these accounts might be true, the documentation that there were, they say people saw men in black, you know, basically somebody wearing black, waving around something, right? And some smoke around or something. So was that a weapon? Was that, you know, did they just poison the air? And this is where this like sort of Grim Reaper images come from, right? The scythe, like carrying the scythe. Was it a scythe, or was it just a staff? Was it black magic? Was it releasing something, a spore? You know, but it seemed like whenever this figure showed up, there were all these deaths. I mean, that's like, those are some accounts like that. So, but obviously we're living through, you know, can you imagine, like, 50, 100 years from now, depending on how things go and who's still in charge or not, how they're going to say like what this, last couple of years was like. I mean, we already have the official ridiculous narratives that we're dealing with. Imagine that just taking that. I mean, they'll either take what's the official narrative as truth, and that's what's going to keep, like, that's what the next generation is going to learn. The next generation, oh, the plague of 2020, the plague, wiped out this many people, when we are living it and we know what's actually happening, and we know that there weren't all those people dying the first year. Now they're starting to die, and we know people who are dying, and we know why, and we know it's not from what they're saying.
YouTube, but be a bit careful.
Yeah, sorry. So that's why I'm trying not to say the words of what this is, but right. So it's like, comparing different events from different times. There may be some similarities there about how they are presented, but yeah, the official narratives are never true with history. I mean, maybe there's some grains of truth in it, but it's completely distorted, and that's what I think we could be sure of. So yeah, I don't know what happened, and that's all I can say. I wasn't there, and I don't have any relatives. I don't have any like ancestors that carried on the story and passed it down. So yeah.
But look at the Black Death. Now they said it was carried by, first of all, rats came in for bad press.
Oh yeah, rats, right?
Rats. Then it was the fleas of the rats.
Fleas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're saying it was some sexually transmitted disease.
Yes, and they were saying it has got to do with hand washing or not, and but the rats is interesting because supposedly from the east, it's always these plagues seem to come from China or something. Like they said, they came from the east, as the Silk Road or whatever brought them, right? And I mean, disease conditions cause disease. We know that. Again, I don't know how much I can say about that now either on YouTube. They don't like to talk about that either, but.
YouTube, I'm a bit neurotic.
Yeah, lots of reasons for is all I'm going to say. But and living conditions, poverty. If it's anything like we were told, the Dark Ages, as they call it, then there's going to be a lot of reasons for people to get sick. Anyway, if the masses are living in dire circumstances, let's say. So. Yeah, and it's like once you start getting that gulf again, and we have the peasantry, and the wealthy landowners, you're going to see the same things happening when we don't have access to what they have access to, in terms of anything, basic needs.
Well, you're right there.
Yeah,
you're right there. I mean, we are basically slaves to them. That's all it is. He's the as their cult, they're obsessed with death. It's a death cult, basically. Yeah. When you look at the First World War, what was that? That was a death cult.
Yeah, sacrifices, just sacrificial. And that's where the numbers come into it. They love it to have something on a massive deaths on the 11, a day that's 11 in it, because that supposedly then has more power in terms of the emotional impact and everything on the rest of us. So it's just part of their like spell casting and ritualistic sacrifices. A lot of ritual involved.
Yeah. Reading about that lately.
Yeah, that is incredible, because the other weird things is that I've noticed this 369 cropping up a heck of a lot, a real heck of a lot all the time. I mean, World War II, when you go look at it, Mr. H came to power in 1933, 6.
Yeah.
Ended in 1935, 9. Began in 1939. September 3rd, 1939. Mm-hmm. It's just uncanny. But then you have the 11 o'clock declared war. It's a very weird one. But the uncanny one is that it also ended. VJ Day, which is Victory in Japan, was the 3rd of September 1945. But in Europe, this doesn't add up. The 11th, but I suppose it does. 11th of May? I think it's 11th of May 1945. Could have been 8th. I'm not sure. I think I better Google that one, because I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure. It's either the 8th or the 11th of May that it was. You know, shall we say we lost? How we think we won? No, looking at the way in another way, I think we lost basically. But that's for a bit shoot show. We're going into naughty territory.
Yeah.
But,
well, you know, it's interesting what you said too about the different calendars, or like maybe our calendar isn't accurate. And that's another way of controlling the numbers and the code, is to control the calendar. You know, say that now we're saying this is what time is. We're saying even the clock and the timekeeping, like we're saying this is how our existence and our experience of life is now going to be partitioned and controlled, you know, like the time, like just down to these minutes and seconds.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, and why is it 60 seconds in a minute, and 60 minutes in an hour? And, you know, and so why did who decided that, right? 24 hours in a day. And it's like, obviously the day changes all through the year depending on light. I mean, day is about how much light you're getting. It has nothing to do with the clock. The clock isn't time. It's not our experience of time, but it becomes our experience of time when we align ourselves with the clock, and we have to go to work according to the clock, and so we create artificial conditions so that we can work according to the clock. We create, you know, we have light, you know, electric lights and things. And so we've adapted ourselves to the artificial time and the artificial calendar. And that means that's just, all of this is moving toward an artificial matrix, you know, and if you can create the artificial matrix for humans to live within and experience a reality differently from natural matrix, then you can completely control everything within the matrix. That's what the Internet of Things is about. I mean, that's what all this technology is about. It's about that ultimate control and changing our environments, because I've done a lot of research about mind control, and the basic takeaway from mind control experiments throughout, actually starting like the 30s, you know, say to the 70s. I mean, they're still doing it, but you know, we definitely know about with the CIA and everything, was that man's mind is really not confined in the body. It's related to the environment, you know. So we are connected with our environment, because the brains, they study the brain mostly, these brain doctors, because your brain has to process stimulus from your environment and make sense of it. And that affects your central nervous system. You can't be separated from it. When they did like sensory deprivation experiments, people went insane. Like they lost complete touch with everything. You know, they didn't know who they were or anything. So that's why isolating people is so devastating. But like taking us from a natural environment and putting us into artificial environments does the same kind of thing. It starts to change us, you know, and it controls us. So that's how mind control works, is changing the environment. And they understood, they used radio frequencies as a really key to these experiments, was radio frequencies and electrodes in the brain, and controlling the brain through radio frequencies. You know, now the electrodes have just gotten smaller and miniaturized. And so, you know, we're using these technologies, but we're really getting these frequency exposures, and our brain is getting them. And that's going to control behavior, and it's going to control mood, and it's going to control wellness, you know, and everything. So it's really, you know, this group of, I don't know if you've heard of cybernetics, cyberneticians. So they had these Macy's meetings at the Macy's Foundation in New York in the 1950s. And they actually talked at these meetings and said, we want to create an artificial matrix. They said it. We're going to create an artificial matrix. That's how we can control everybody. You know, so this is what the Internet of Things is about. That's the artificial matrix. That's what 5G is about. Yeah, 5.6 actually. 56. We were talking about 56. Well, you've got that in the.
Yeah.
You know, I can't. You know, that's like, that looks like that, right? Which is interesting, but yeah, I mean, so that's why we have to resist that, you know, like you have to keep grounding ourselves in a different reality, the natural matrix. So that's what we want to be part of. If you want to be part of it, fine, you know, but I mean, it should be a choice, and it doesn't seem like it they're trying to make it a choice. So, you know, that's, but
well,
yeah, I mean, yeah.
I can see what you're getting at, but I was reading an article the other day. Now, I haven't cross-checked this, so
Okay.
this is from one article, but apparently the old calendar, the new year began on April the 1st.
Right.
And it went from April the 1st through to April the 1st. And the reason we have April Fool's Day is because when they changed it to the new year beginning on the 1st of January, people that still believed that the new year started on April the 1st. Now, that was from one article. I haven't cross-checked this, but this is what the one person wrote who apparently had researched.
I mean, it has some logic to it, because why else is that April Fool's Day? You know, I mean, nobody ever explained that, right?
No.
Yeah.
But I think that really, when you look at it, look at our calendar and that, you know, like I say, we're 300 years out. Now, some people believe it, some people don't. I do believe it. I don't think the Dark Ages did exist. It was just because in history things don't just stay exactly the same for 300 years and then start again. Like, for example, the beautiful cathedrals. The skill stopped for 300 years and then started again. It doesn't work like that. Exactly where they stopped again. And apparently it's mentioned in different other religious calendars that there was an error, and they've just kept that error going. So really, this year is 1723 as far as I'm concerned, although I still use 2023, but it's really 1723. And when you look at it from that view, the First World War and Second World War works out, and Ukraine works out to 65, which is 11.
Yeah. Or have you heard about the hypothesis that there was 1,000 years that they just threw out?
Yeah.
So that there was like 5, so actually like 500 BC, 500 AD was actually 1500 AD. And there's even some kind of evidence that these old buildings, they just took the 1 down or something. They start taking the ones down in order to kind of erase that from our memories, from history. Years. So I don't know. Maybe there's some combination of that. But yeah, there's such an interesting. Have anybody seen this documentary? It was like on YouTube. I don't know if it's still on YouTube, but there's an archive of it somewhere. I was able to get the whole thing, called The History of the Flat Earth. I think it's History of Flat Earth or something like real history of maybe it was just History of Flat Earth. But it's like a 7-hour thing. I've watched all of it. It's super interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, not all at once. Not all at once in segments, but wow, really like brings that into it. But I definitely, some of it I'd heard of before, but it gets into the architecture and basically like lost technology and lost knowledge. I don't really believe this linear history we're presented, that we were just apes and then we kind of progressed. And the problem with that is also that like, okay, that just makes us assume then that anything new technology now means it's the best, and we're going in this one direction only, and not maybe losing our knowledge or losing our IQ or smarts, and and I think there's these cycles and these, it's more of an up and down kind of thing. But we definitely, obviously, like if you just look at the basic history of like how wars work and conquests, people who conquer one people are going to take away their culture and their history and just start over, And so it's just kind of on a bigger scale. Maybe this has happened over and over again. Like they've sort of cleaned, whoever wins that control position, like cleans the slate as much as it can. Book burning. I'd like to go to the Vatican basement and see archives, where those books are. Oh, those books that they stole. Yeah.
Well, apparently there's supposed to be. We do know. I'm not sure it's a tourist attraction, but there. I think it's about years ago. They announced that they opened up the secret tunnels because Eisenhower had a secret tunnel that went to number 10, and the secret tube tunnels under London, and apparently the secret archives under London. Yes, there was what was it now? Robert Newman, the late great Robert Newman. He said that he was speaking to somebody that went down there, and he said, you just went for miles and miles and miles of archives.
Yeah.
And what these archives is, who knows? But
Yeah.
do you fill an advert for? There's a very famous show on 4:00 on Sundays at 8:00 in the morning if you're in California.
Okay.
Is there?
And shall we go for it? All right, ready?
Go on then.
Go for it. Here we go.
She sounds like a top bird, her.
Cool.
It's brilliant. 2 weeks. I do apologise, Deb. I missed the chat 2 weeks. Because week before last, I was on my iPad, so I can't go on the chat on there. And this week, I actually looked up, and it was 5:00. That I said, "Oh, what a shame! I missed
what
it."
a shame.
Well,
For some reason,
it's good. It is. It's cracking, isn't it?
For some reason, this week when I did the premiere, it froze halfway through, so we were stuck on one picture. That was a YouTube issue because when I played it from the download that I'd done, it played straight through. So I deleted that and then I uploaded it again, and I've had 1,200 views since 5 p.m. yesterday.
Cool.
It's not bad.
Nice.
Bit mind blowing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, that's brilliant. That is, isn't it?
Wow.
That's not bad. But I bet you YouTube doesn't show that. I've noticed that
Well, they mess around with those now.
Don't they? Yeah, I've noticed that. With this channel,
a few people on my in my chat have said things like my comments are off when I've not actually set my comments to be off. So I think YouTube pretty much do what they want with your videos.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's weird.
That's right. What's got me is that they did start censoring videos on BitChute, but now I've noticed they've got back again. That the censorship has been lifted. But you still can't get onto Dennis Wise on there. His channel's gone. But you can get to Brian Rue on there. Do you know Brian Rue, Shannon?
No.
He's in. And he's all right, but I find him a bit eccentric, shall we say? But no, because I call my BitChute channel the naughty channel, because we talk about naughty things on there that you're not allowed to talk about on here.
Right.
But get away with a bit more on there.
Oh, you can, yes. I mean, we're going to do an interview, Shannon, yourself.
I know. We need to do that. I was just checking. We did. My partner did a supercut from X-Files like a few years ago, and we hadn't checked the stats in a while. I just checked. He's got 31,000 views on it because people like, I don't know, it just took off. He doesn't have like followers on his channel or anything. It's just a really good supercut. If you go to YouTube and you look up Mulder Frustrated, it's called Mulder Loses His Cool is actually what it really, that's what it was. Yeah. X-Files supercut, Mulder Loses His Cool.
Right.
It's pretty hilarious. If you liked X-Files, if you're a fan, it's a good, it's a good one. And there's a link in there. I put it in the notes, like to another one, to Scully is a medical doctor. You know how she's always saying I'm a medical doctor.
Right.
I don't know if you ever even remember that. Anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, X-Files. But the funny thing is, I know I'm going on to a different subject, but I'm going to upset a lot of people now, because let's face it, we've upset Freemasons, so I might as well upset people into UFOs. I think a lot of UFOs are the origins of the government. I think they're hyping it up a lot. There are unidentified objects, but the government are hyping things a lot.
Yeah.
They really are. And I've also noticed some openly fake Bigfoot films on YouTube, very openly fake. You can see it's so fake, it's laughable. It really is. And have you seen that one, actual film? But what do you think of that one, the Bigfoot looking through the window? Now that frighten you, wouldn't it? If you woke up in the morning and saw that looking through your window.
Well, yeah.
Could be a bloke with an anorak, a wall supporter, sort of looking through like that, you know.
The trouble is when people post stuff like that, you always get a load of people that say, "Oh, it's fake." You could actually have an interview with Bigfoot, and somebody would say, "Oh, it's fake." There's always somebody out there that's going to shoot you down. So
what Bigfoot called? But you notice those ones that you can see, they're computer animated, and I think it might
some
be
of them. I mean, I can tell you when. I don't know if you guys have seen those, like the so-called pandemic babies and the black-eyed babies. Those are totally faked videos. Like I can see the fakery in them, you know. But here's a okay. So I mentioned X-Files, and back to gematria. I'm going to tie this all together because in the X-Files, interesting because I did some of that gematria because of course you've got Fox Mulder, right? So Fox's name, the name Fox is 666. If you break that down, like F is 6, 0, O is 6, and X is 6. And this X-Files series, just the X-Files, is actually 666. And that the is 6, X is 6, and files is 6. And then Fox, of course, also equals 9, with Mulder equaling 11. So Fox Mulder is 911, and he's like the truther, right? So he's seeking the truth, and his character name is 911. And then you've got, okay, what else do I got there? Dana Scully, his partner. Dana equals 11, and then Scully equals 11. So she's 22, a master builder number, right? Okay, I think that was a little more on that or not. Some of the episode title numbers, yeah. Interesting. Okay, so one of them that I was writing about in the book was that had 19 in it, you know, twice. Anyway, so but that just alone is really interesting that the character names in the series has those numbers in it. You know, it's just again, it's like this can't be coincidental. I mean, when there's like a really popular show like that and they're presenting something that way, they're going to be looking at this carefully, you know, and because just they have a certain impact they want to have, and you know, I guess they see that's the way to do it. I don't know, or maybe some of this happens naturally. That's what is another interesting thing. Like, what if they weren't thinking about it when they did it, and they don't even know? Yeah. You know, they don't even know that Fox Mulder is 9/11, right?
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be. You know, I don't know how much of it's planned. And, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you then, but Star Trek, I'm going to upset a lot of Trekkies now. So let's call it, it's Freemasons, ufologists, and now Trekkies I'm going to upset now. So they're all switching off, bastard, you know. But no, seriously, that was more of a political thing because when Gene Roddenberry, when he was actually casting it, he wanted to know what the people's views were. And that would be a bit left wing before they would sort of hire them. And it was more of a political thing. They sort of virtually admitted it now, sort of a psyops, because it's funny, it coincided with the, I won't call it moon landings, but when 3 blokes are supposed to have gone to the moon in a tin can, you know.
Yeah. And now we've lost all the technology to do it again.
Yeah, they've lost it. It's amazing.
I know.
But actually, we've got quite a lot in chat. A lot here.
I just want to say real quick too. I may not last much longer. I'm pretty cold. I don't have heat where I'm doing this. and I'm starting to feel it a little too much.
Have you got a bit numb?
Oh, we're at the hour and a half. So, yeah, maybe, I don't know how if you two want to continue without me, I mean, we could go to chat and then wrap it up, or if you guys want to keep going, but I'm going to have to probably get out of here in a couple minutes.
I understand.
Before I turn to an icicle.
Oh, thank you very much. What do you think, Deb?
I think yes.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up, shall we?
Okay. Yeah, you want to look at some of the chat and then.
Yeah, we either do a quick whiz through chat, shall we?
Yes.
And well, I've highlighted I think you have as well. But there's some interesting ones here. Dark Angels card is something interesting here. What's in it? Exploration. The Black Death hit Europe so badly that workers were able to charge higher prices for their labour after the plague, and animals such as wolves bounced back for the next 150 years. That's interesting, isn't it? Yes. But yes, that's.
Can you see? Comment from Ancient Ruby. Lovely seeing you, Shannon.
Oh, thank you,
Ruby. Nice. Must be. What is the temp? Is it temperature? I guess it's gone.
Well, it's probably a little warmer. It's probably now warmer outside. I've been in. It's we got some sun today, so it's probably warmed up in the sun. But I'm inside without heat.
Yeah.
So I got to get back down to my house where I've got heat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I think I told you when we started, it was around just a couple degrees, Celsius. So
yeah, I've dropped a degree now. We've gone from 8 to 7.
Yeah. Oh, great. Maybe 5 now.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Shannon, for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for braving this through, Lady B of Fotham. I like that one, Lady B Fotham. Lady B Fotham. You got some fantastic names, but you've really braved it. You had a pretty nasty cold, Deb. So thanks for coming.
I know. I'm sorry. I've had to keep going off and blowing.
Oh yeah. You should take care of that.
Oh. And next week, I think we've got an exciting one coming up. That's if all being well. I haven't actually discussed it with you yet, Deb, but we'll have to
plug it in.
We'll have to plug it, and also we'll have to do a separate show with you, Shannon, about your book on BitChute, on the Naughty Show on BitChute. So and remember, Telegram, please join me. I update it every day, and so if anything happens, you can either go onto the website. So if YouTube says you've been very naughty, you've been saying some truths, you mustn't do this. See what's happened on Telegram. As I say, I'm trying to get away from Facebook. I'm still going to keep on Facebook, but not so much. I'm going to go more over to Gab in future because it's so dangerous on Facebook. And thank you very much, as for joining us. And remember to subscribe, thumbs up as well. And whatever happens, have a bloody good laugh.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Because remember, it's a clown show, isn't it? When you look at it, the World Economic Forum, it's a clown show. So have a good laugh.
We also learned that ignoring them is even better than hating, from your experiment you did with the rice. The one that got ignored went bad first.
That's right.
Yeah.
Really funny. But anyone for rice pudding?
No, thanks. Especially not the tasty one.
Yeah, it really is on the nose. That is. I think we draw that experiment to a close tomorrow morning. That's going out. The lids are firmly on there tonight.
Yeah.
And anyway, thank you very much. Do the outro. And remember, join us same time, same place next week.
Yes, and we'll see you then. Bye.
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 Good night.